Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Crowd Chair Podcast. Today is baseball time. You know what time it is. It's baseball season. We love our baseball. I love my baseball. We all like our baseball really on this channel. But we love our baseball, and today is going to be a special video because we are 2 days away from opening day. Now, technically, there has been two games I've already played in Japan. It was what was it? The Dodgers and the Cubs end up playing in Japan a couple weeks ago. It might have been last week. And technically, those are regular season games, but really, it's still opening day. This is opening day. This is truly the start of baseball for me. And probably for everybody else too. So 2 days away from opening day, I figure, you know what? We got 2 more days until the season begins. Why not just go over all the teams and our expectations from this year, you know? Why not see what all these teams could possibly give us and, what they are going to do this year? So yeah, we're doing the American League here. Let's go over some American League teams. Starting off, we go with the American League East, and we have none other than the Tampa Bay Rays. To start off this video, we're kind of ripping the Band-Aid off early here. Obviously, it is not the best of situations for poor Tampa Bay, who currently is dealing with quite a mess. In terms, I mean, they're not the only team dealing with a stadium mess, but theirs is particularly rough because they really don't have a future right now. Obviously, Hurricane rolled through Tampa Bay, being specifically Hurricane Milton completely tore apart the roof of Tropicana Field, making it unusable. New stadium hadn't been built yet. They were planning on building a new one. Apparently, those plans are now down the drain, and so now they're stuck at their their rivals' spring training facility, which is a bitter pill to swallow to be playing at the basically field of your arch rivals. It just really harsh, really tough. Obviously, it's not like I said, it's not the situation you want, but you gotta play the game somewhere. So it's a little rough for Tampa. Really, little rough for the Rays, who also just don't have the best of teams overall. They're okay, but this is not a team I'd really expect to be doing that much. Normally, Tampa Bay teams typically seem to do pretty well in the postseason. Or I'm sorry, in the regular season. I mean, last year I believe they finished with like a slightly below 500 record. It might have been like 80 and 84 or something because 162. Yeah, no, it'd be 80 and 82. I'm sorry. Um, yeah, 80 and 82. Um, I think they only finished like two games below 500 last year. They had a really darn good season. Very impressive what they were able to do. And so yeah, Tampa Bay. I'm not expecting, like I said, not expecting much out of them. Just don't think they really have it this year. I mean, last year was kind of their, yeah, 80. I was right on point. 80 and 82 last year for the Tampa Bay Rays. I'll actually just keep the records up there. But 80 and 82 for Tampa. Rough stadium situation. Not overall great team either. Um, I mean, like I said, maybe I think I would say similar style season this year, maybe a little bit more below 500, but this isn't it. This isn't it for Tampa. I just don't think this is going to be the year for them. Not a terrible team, but not one that I'd expect much out of either. Next is the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a team that's always trying to make moves and get the wheels turning, and it's interesting for them because they're certainly trying to compete right now. They're trying to make a lot of moves to get themselves into contention, but this team seemingly continually ends up underperforming. Last year, 74 and 88. They've had huge expectations pretty much every season, and just have never been able to deliver on that. Especially you know, when you got Vlad, Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette and Kevin Gossman, Jose Barrio, all these dynamite players, Alejandro Kerr, George Springer. I mean, all these dudes and just not able to convert really on anything with any of them. Um, and so it's been very rough times in Toronto with all the expectations that basically have ended up being a whole lot of nothing. Um, so definitely, I'm sure that they're hoping for more in Toronto. Do I think that'll happen this year? Possibly, because again, they signed quite a few guys. They signed some guys and brought some guys in the off season. They traded for Andres Jimenez from Cleveland. Got themselves Max Scherzer on a 1 year deal. That can be really good, assuming he stays healthy. That's always been the problem with Scherzer, has been just actually staying on the field. They also gave a big signing to, of course, Anthony Santander. Of course, still got Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr. along with Alejandro Kirk. So you got a lot of great, players, but can this team really put it together? I believe they have a new manager this year as well. I believe their last guy, I forget his name, but I'm pretty sure they actually fired him after last season. And so I believe it's a new guy over there now. Again, I can't recall his name, but it says on here they have Dalton Varsho as well. Uh, He's going to begin the season, apparently, it looks like, on the IL with, they say, a shoulder injury. So I did not know that one. So it looks like they'll be missing him for the start of the season. But we'll see how it goes for Toronto. Personally, you know, I'll wait and see them actually, performing to their potential. So far, they just really haven't done it. So, why would I have reason to believe they're suddenly going to do it now? I'm hoping for the best for them. They certainly have the talent to be good. I'm just not sure they'll actually get there. Next is the New York Yankees, and this team, of course, has a lot of good players on it. They always do. This team last year, of course, 94 and 68, ended up going to the World Series and got demolished by none other than the LA Dodgers. Um, but this is a really good team. I mean, they're absolutely loaded with talent. Up and down the roster. It's kind of hard to miss with them. They do have some injury problems though. Garrett Cole will miss the season with Tommy John surgery. So that is a huge loss for the New York Yankees. I mean, that is their ace. And so losing him is an absolute huge loss for them to not have him around and not have him to really, I mean, not just even to start the season, but for any of the season. And that is so hard to really. I mean, it's basically like taking, and we'll get to. It's like taking Tariq Skubal from the Tigers. I mean, that's hard to recover from. So we'll see. Well, I mean, definitely the Yankees have a lot of good pitching. So if there's anyone who could, weather the storm, it is them. Because they did sign Max Fried in free agency, got themselves a big time uh, starting pitcher signing. Of course, they also brought in Rodon last year. They still have Marcus Stroman. I guess they do have Clark Schmidt as well, but he is dealing with a injury problem. He will begin the season on the IL as well. Had a really good season last year. So that's obviously a little tough. They got Carlos Carrasco as well. Bullpen, of course, looking really nasty. You got Luke Weaver, who was pretty good for him last season. Of course, they traded for Devin Williams, which is absolutely terrifying. The fact that that's now their closer. Austin Wells still at catcher. You got Paul Goldschmidt, who they traded, or no, they signed Paul Goldschmidt. I'm sorry, signed Paul Goldschmidt in free agency. Jazz Chisholm still. Currently, it has DJ LeMahieu listed is out. I guess he's hurt as well. Um, yeah, left calf strain. So he shouldn't be out that long, but that's another injury problem. Anthony Volpe, of course. Cody Bellinger they traded for this offseason. Aaron Judge still around. Apparently Stanton's hurt as well. That's not a surprise. Dude's always hurt. Yeah, I'm just gonna be real. They are missing another catcher or pitcher as well, so bit of some injury problems for the Yankees early on. But it's a good team. I mean, they certainly have all the talent in the world. I mean, they signed everybody. They should be good. But this is a really stinking good team. They went and signed guys. They brought dudes in. This is certainly a team you don't want to mess with. Um, really nasty team. It really doesn't get any different than that. That's a really stinking good team. Really hard to beat. We'll see if anyone maybe can, but Yankees are really good. We'll see what the record ends up being if they actually convert this year on a World Series, but they're always going to be good. They got the money for it. They're going to keep signing guys. So another good team right there. Next is a team that really made a ton of moves this offseason to get good, and that is the Boston Red Sox. They went big in free agency. They attacked the free agent pool hard. And Boston went and got basically anyone and everyone they could get. I mean, they traded for Garrett Crochet in the offseason. I think Liam Hendricks was a free agent signing. So was Aroldis Chapman. Got both of them in free agency. Signed Walker Buehler in free agency. Lucas Giolito is still hurt. We'll see if he can actually come back for Boston at some point. He's going to start the season on the IL. So hopefully, because that's a huge signing for him as well, and that's also a good player. So hopefully that can turn around. They can have him for the season. Still got Tristan Casas, of course. Also got Alex Bregman in free agency, pairing him alongside with Rafael Devers, as well as Trevor Story, who is now fully healthy. Got him lying around. Jaron Duran's really good. Uh, this is an outstanding team, and it is extremely hard to yeah. Wow, I could not speak there for a second. It's extremely hard to uh. This Boston team's good. I don't know where I was going with that. I like completely lost track. Boston's got a really good team. And Masataka Yoshida, he's also hurt right now, but that's another good player from. I mean, they're loaded as well. Boston is really trying to load up. Last year, I believe they were really straight dead 500. They were 81-81. This is a good team. Like I said, they went and attacked free agency and the trade market, and they got everybody they wanted. So, um, what are you gonna do? That's pretty incredible. That's what you want to do. If you want to get better, if you want to get to the playoffs, that's what you got to do. Next we have the Baltimore Orioles. So this team has figured out how to make it to the playoffs. That is great. Now you gotta stop choking in it. This team seems to always fall apart in the postseason. I mean, we've seen it now. I mean, 2 years in a row now. Last year, of course, was their first time in the playoffs. But I also did not think they would just get absolutely swept, and I don't even think they were close in any of those games. So that's kind of disappointing, especially when they were in the number one overall seed and they were that stinking good. Um, you don't want to turn in a winless performance in the playoffs. And then this past year, they got the KC Royals in the wild card round, of which they were also at home, and they didn't win that either. So, and I think that was a sweep too. So, I mean, 2 years in a row you've made it to the playoffs, you have yet to win a game. And I know this team has, all kinds of talent on the offensive end, and everyone said, "Oh, well, they just lack the pitching." That might be true, but the issue and that really is true. The Orioles really lack the pitching, and of course they did lose. Why am I blacking out on his name right now? Corbin Burns in free agency. Pretty sure he went to the Diamondbacks. Pretty sure of that. But he ended up leaving in free agency. They did get themselves Charlie Morton in free agency, which, I mean, he's an old guy, but he certainly still can deliver. He certainly, over the years for Atlanta, has had decent years, so maybe he'll give him something. But the problem for I think the Orioles again this year is going to be just a lack of pitching because they still got nasty hitting with Rutschman and Mountcastle, Holiday, Westberg, or yeah Westberg, Henderson, Cowser, Mullins. Their hitting is insane. But again, they don't have any pitching. They do have a pretty darn good bullpen still, but they don't have starting pitching, and they really need to get some starting pitching if this team wants to be good. And I'm kind of scared of their starting rotation here because really it's not that special. They did get Zach Eflin in a trade last year, and he ended up being decent for them, but that's a question mark in and of itself. Grayson Rodriguez is currently hurt, so we'll see if he comes back. And Charlie Morton, dude's like 41 years old. So Orioles need some pitching, and they need it desperately. We'll see if they can get it somewhere. But they desperately need some hitter or some pitchers on that team uh, to really get successful. Then now next we'll go to the Central Division. Let's just start with the Minnesota Twins. So let's go in order of how they have it. So the Minnesota Twins here. Um, Man, they had an absolute monumental collapse at the end of last season. They were looking really good, and then they just completely blew it in the end. They're looking solid to make the playoffs, and then just completely blew it all together. Ended up being Baltimore was 91 and 71, by the way. Uh, the Twins they end up being 82 and 80 on the regular season. Uh, Towards the end of the season, they just absolutely fell apart. They could not beat anybody. They kept losing constantly. And really, that was what allowed both the teams underneath them, the Royals and the Tigers, sneak by them and take the playoff spots. So, really tough way to go out if you're the Twins. This year, though, I mean, they still have some solid players. Still got Carlos Correa, still got Byron Buxton. Uh, you got some solid hitters. You got some good pitchers with Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez. Johan Duran still your closer. They got good pieces, but you can't have that just absolute meltdown at the end of last season. Uh, or you can't have that kind of meltdown like you did last year. That cannot happen. Um, I mean, thankfully they did because they let us in, but yeah, that can't happen again, and that's where the big problem is. We'll see how the Twins do this year, but not the prettiest look for them last season. They have a solid team. Expectations for them, uh, middle of the road, really. Now is the Kansas City Royals. This is a team that looked really good last season. Ended up at 86 and 76, made it to the playoffs for the first time. They did beat the Baltimore Orioles. They could not beat the New York Yankees. They end up losing in the next series. Could not beat them, but really good season for them. They certainly exceeded expectations. They did sign a couple guys. Of course, they still got Sally Perez. They got Bobby Witt Jr. They got Jonathan India, I believe, in a trade. I don't know if that's correct. I might be wrong. But they basically have pretty much the same team that they did last year, just with adding a couple guys here and there. So expectations of the Royals, they should be good. A similar record to last year, I think, is reasonably really it's obtainable. I think they should have a similar season to last year. Maybe get into one of the last few wild card spots, and maybe make another push at another wild card spot. This is a solid team. They got solid players. Did some of them maybe kind of overperform last year and will come back down to earth this year? Maybe, but I certainly think this is a good Kansas City team, and nonetheless, like I said, they'll probably make a push for a wild card spot at the very least. And now it's our team who had an absolute shocking run at the end of the season, that being the Detroit Tigers. Wow. really was not expecting last year. Also like the Royals, 86 and 76. Made a run to the playoffs, knocked off the defending champs of the Houston Astros. Yeah, they were the defending champs, right? No, defending AL, defending American League champs. Sorry, Texas won it last year. Defending American League champions who've basically been just mainstays in the AL Conference Series. Knock off them, then just fell a little short to our arch rivals right underneath us there in Cleveland. Um, really good season though. I mean, listen, you go from being basically, nobody's in the league for years and years and years, and then finally end up having a really darn good season. That's something to look at. And you would think because he's signing a bunch of guys and actually trying to make our team really stinking good and really get better. And we did it. We signed a couple guys to 1 year deals, and that was about it. And, Jack Flaherty was a 2 year deal, but that's also on a player option, so he could have stopped up if he wanted to anyway. Really frustrates me that we don't want to spend on literally anyone. And it really makes no sense to me because wouldn't you want to spend all the money you humanly possibly can to get yourself pretty darn good? I don't get it. It doesn't make it, like I said, doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Really frustrating for sure. Um, and for the Tigers, though, expectations for this year pretty mid. Could we make another run to the wild card? Maybe. We'd have to get hot hitting. That's really our only, shot, I think, a game to the postseason is getting hot hitting again. And that's probably going to be our issue again. And, with no third baseman, so I'm kind of interested in seeing how this team plays. They are very much definitely dealing with some injury problems. I mean, certainly the outfield has been absolutely ravaged by injuries, with Parker Meadows, Wenzel Perez, Matt Vierling, and Akil Baddoo all taking injuries in spring training. Um, Getting to the point where it was so bad that we actually had to bring in Manuel Margot as a free agent because we took so many injuries on uh, in all spring training. So we'll have to see what the Tigers do this year. Again, like I said, I'm not expecting anything too crazy, just kind of middle of the road. Um, I definitely think we might start the year 0-3 because they gave us the stinking Dodgers as our first darn regular season series. We might be able to steal the first game because we have Skubal pitching, but we're not beating Sasaki or Yamamoto. I'm sorry, guys. If you're Tiger fans watching this, take it from the Tiger fan. We ain't beating Yamamoto or Sasaki. No. So I mean, I hope for the best. Maybe we can steal one, or well, maybe we can steal a second one. But going 0-3 is probably more of the reality here. um, but overall, solid team. Again, like I said, hopefully we can get to or a little above 500, making our playoff push. Um, Next, we have Cleveland. Cleveland ended up having a really good season last year as well. Got to the AL CS, played the New York Yankees, and ended up falling short. They were 92 and 69 last year. This is a team with loads and loads of pitching. They always seem to have just pitchers galore. Team has pretty much all the hitters that they had from last season. There's not really a ton of changes. The bullpen is still absolutely disgusting. This is a good team, and they were pretty good last year too. And the Tigers pushed them to the brink. But this is a really good uh, Cleveland team. I do expect probably them to win a division again. I don't think the Tigers are good enough. I don't think the Royals are there yet. Twins are just kind of ordinary, and you don't even need to mention the other teams. Um, but for Cleveland, I think it'll be a really good season for them. ALCS run, possibly, maybe again. I don't know. We'll see. But I certainly would expect good things from Cleveland this year with really all the talent they have and with how good overall the whole team is. they're also pretty young in many aspects, so that's also another thing to look at is just their overall youth. Um, but yeah, like I said, I would expect great things from from good old Cleveland, and then we have Chicago. Um, wow, I never knew a team could be as bad as them, but they reached new lows last year, going a MLB worst in history, 41 and 121. Again, I did not know that that was possible, but here we are. But this is a bad team. Will they go 41, 121 again? I don't think so. They had like a really long losing streak too that almost broke an MLB record. They're bad. Chicago, the White Sox are awful. they they are a bad baseball team, and there is no hiding that. But really with Chicago, I mean, they did make a trade in the offseason. I remember that got them Varg a couple prospects from the Dodgers, but this is a really bad team. I, you lose a game to the Chicago, that's embarrassing. And I mean, what's crazy to think about is really Cleveland actually lost a bunch of games to Chicago, while really pretty much the Twins, the Royals, and the Tigers all dominated them. So, yeah, this is not a good team. No one should be losing to these guys, especially now with Garrett Crochet gone, which was the lone good pitcher they did have. Now with him gone, you also, I mean, Luis Robert is still around, but who knows how long he'll last in Chicago. I'm sure someone's going to want him. It's not good times in Chi-Town, at least that Chi-Town. The other Chi-Town is looking a little bit better. Not that one. Now as we go to the AL West and we go with to probably one of the staples, I'd almost say at this point, of baseball because of how good they've been for the past few years, and that's the Houston Astros. This is a team that has continually played well. Last year, again, winning the division, going 83 and 70 or 88 and 73. Not their best. Normally, they're a little bit better than that. Not their best record, but still won the division. Of course, then they end up falling to the Tigers. Yeah. Uh, but this is a solid Houston team. They still got plenty of good players. A little bit of a retooling in Houston. They did let some guys go. Guys like Alex Bregman went out the window. Trade Kyle Tucker, which is one I don't really necessarily understand. But traded some guys out, brought some guys in. Uh, do I think it's necessarily for the best? Honestly, no. I think this is really uh anyone's division at this point. I think Houston will probably end up around 500. I'm not expecting much from them. They should be a solid team overall, but I don't think the retooling here is really going to help them. Uh, I think their championship windows and their championship days are starting to come to an end. You know, do I think a rebuild is necessarily in sight? No, absolutely not. But definitely, if they want to start competing, it might be a bit. We'll see. Maybe they can really pull something together last year. But I think this past season was a sign of things to come for Houston. That it's starting to get a little downhill. Now a whole retooling process of getting a billion new guys in. That's a lot of change. And, we'll see if they can keep their championship ways going, but I think it's gonna be a little tough for Houston now. Still a good team, like I said, still got guys like Framber Valdez, Jose Altuve, Jordan Alvarez, signed Christian Walker. You still got good players. Signed or traded for Isak Paredes while giving away Kyle Tucker. Good players. Let's see if Houston can put it all together. And we stay in state to talk about the next team, and the Texas Rangers. So this is a really interesting one because they ended up winning the World Series 2 years ago, and then it was like they just said peace. because they went 78 and 84 last year and missed the playoffs entirely. Kind of crazy. um, but this is a Ranger team that is kind of a bit of an unknown, I would say, because they're kind of a wild card. Like you think they're gonna be really good, but they instead just really have not delivered that much. They will have Jacob DeGrom back this year, which is going to be huge for them. They also will have Nathan Eovaldi, who's been really good for them, Marcus Simeon, Corey Seager, Wyatt Langford. So, I mean, they still got or Adolis Garcia as well. They still got good players, but, can they put it all together in one season? I mean, we saw last year that this didn't really work. I think they had some injury problems last year as well. I don't necessarily remember, but it was a struggle bus for Texas last season. It did not go well. And so you hope for better things for Texas this year. Do I think they'll do better this year? I mean, they certainly have the players to do it. I certainly think, maybe they can, maybe they can win the division. Like I said, I think this is the most wide open division in the American League. I think basically the East is the Yankees to lose, and the Central is more or less Cleveland's to lose. This division, though, I think anybody could win this one, and the Rangers are very much in that race. So, wild card spot, I don't really know. Maybe. I think they're more likely to probably win the division than they are to make it to the wild card round. But this is a good Texas team. I think they'll put themselves in a decent position to win. And who knows? Who knows where they go from there? Seattle Mariners. This is a very interesting team because they are like the opposite of Baltimore. This team is loaded with with pitching talent from Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu. All those guys were dynamite for them last season. All of them fantastic years. You got other guys even in the bullpen who also are beyond outstanding, and they just have not been able to hit at all. It has been struggle bus. I mean, really, Seattle's kind of like the Tigers. They have all the pitching in the world, and this have not been able to really get runs on the board to help that pitching. So, really been the biggest problem. Julio Rodriguez was a big disappointment, of course, last year. Or he was a bigger disappointment last year. He kind of struggled to start the season. He did a little bit better towards the end, but it was a little tough for him. Randy Arozarena was traded for at the end of the season by Seattle, and he did not do much better for Seattle than he did with Tampa. So those are the big two guys for Seattle's hitting crew. You also got J.P. Crawford. They did, I think, Jorge Polanco. I think that was a trade. Cal Raleigh, who just got a huge extension with the Mariners. But so this is an interesting team. They got some good talent. This is a team that I think if their hitting gets hot, they're going to be the teams are going to be in trouble. Kind of like I mean, I didn't mention that with the Tigers, but really it's the same story with them. If their hitting gets hot, watch out. So though I mean, Seattle's in a similar position, I think, to the Detroit Tigers, except they're in a I think much easier division than the Tigers because the other two teams are below them. But this is certainly Seattle's in a good spot. They got good talent. They got good pitching. They got some decent hitting. Can they put it all together in one season and make a playoff push? I think I think it's possible. Yeah, especially with the West and how I think it's kind of wide open this year. Maybe this is Seattle's time to shine. So yeah, I like the Mariners team. They got a solid team. Um, Athletics. I don't know what they call them. Sacramento Athletics, Oakland still. They're not in Vegas yet, so I can't call them the Vegas Athletics. Like I don't know what to call this darn team. They don't have a city really. Um, I mean, obviously, right now they couldn't stay in. It was kind of weird because they couldn't they knew they couldn't stay in what was it um in the Coliseum, so they had to move out. but their stadium in Vegas isn't ready yet. I think it's supposed to get built, but I don't even know yet. I don't even know still. But it hasn't been built yet. And so they're having a similar problem to that of the Rays. I mean, the Rays just got kicked out because of a hurricane, which kind of destroyed their stadium. The A's, I don't know. That whole organization is kind of in a bit of a mess right now, and now they're playing in the Sacramento Triple A stadium, which is not a good look. How this team also has enough money to still do all this is kind of wild. They also made some off-season signings, which was kind of crazy because Oakland never does that. They're well known for being a very cheap organization, but they actually went out and got players. And they actually might have a somewhat decent team. So, and you look at last season's record, Seattle 80, 85 and 77 last year. Oakland was 69 and 93, which isn't good, but that's really not terrible. I've seen a lot worse than that for Oakland. So, things are on the way up. And like I said, they made some off-season signings this year to try and make themselves better. Like guys like Luis Severino and keeping Brent Rooker, and I guess they got Gio Urshela. I mean, they got decent actual talent. Um, I don't think they'll get above 500, but hey, they might be able to, make themselves a little bit better. The organization might be a mess, but hey, the team isn't terrible. So, there's that. So yeah, that's Oakland. And our last team to finish the American League here will be the AL West or AL West. What am I doing? The LA Angels. LAAL. Might have been that. But the LA Angels. This is a bad team. This is another team that you look at and you go, oof. Like this is not a good team. They did try and sign some guys, but I would not expect this team to really do all that much. Um, Last year they were 63 and 99. They had a worse record than the A's, which is kind of scary. But this team has also struggled for several years. They did sign some guys outside free agency with Travis Darnaud. Uh, Jorge Soler was, I'm pretty sure, a trade. Yohan Moncada. They had Tim Anderson. Kenley Jansen is a nice signing to have, but really expecting the Angels to be like a, top team this year is a little far fetched. I think maybe they'll be decent. Maybe they'll try and push 500, but I think that's generous for them. I would not expect much from this Angel team. I don't know about going under, 100 losses or something. I mean, 73 and 99. I think they'll probably be a little bit better than that, but 71, 91. There you go. That's probably a good, number for them. But really more than that, I would not see coming. And that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one. Until then, adios, everybody.